It is open enrollment season. You just left $810,000 on the table, not because you made a reckless decision, because your HR portal only showed you 12 months of math and you trusted it. That number is not hypothetical. It is what a family contributing the maximum to a health savings account every year for 30 years accumulates at 7% annualized growth. Tax-free going in, tax-free growing, tax-free coming out. And the only way to access it is through a plan that 58% of American workers skip during open enrollment every single year. The mechanism behind this is not complicated, but your employer has no financial incentive to show it to you. So today we are going to run the math they left out. And when you see the full 30-year picture, the decision you make every November is going to look completely different. Let me start with a chart everyone sees. Open enrollment opens. Your HR portal loads a comparison table. On the left, the PPO. On the right, the high deductible health plan, or HDHP. The table shows monthly premiums, annual deductible, out-of-pocket maximum, maybe a rough estimate of your expected annual costs based on last year's claims. The PPO numbers look safer, lower deductible, more predictable exposure, fewer surprises at the doctor's office. You run the year one math. PPO wins. You click confirm and move on with your day. Kaiser Family Foundation surveys thousands of U.S. employers every year on health benefits data. Their 2024 report found that 58% of covered workers are enrolled in PPO plans. HDHP enrollment sits at 29%. That gap is not explained by health outcomes. It is not explained by employer offerings. It is explained almost entirely by what the comparison tool shows and what it quietly leaves out. Here is what I call the enrollment window effect. Every HR benefits comparison tool is built around the 12-month horizon. It shows you year one costs. It cannot show you year 30 outcomes. And for this particular decision, year 1 and year 30 point in completely opposite directions. The tool is not lying to you. It is just showing you a single frame of a 30-year film and asking you to make a decision based on that one frame. Let me show you what that looks like with real numbers. Take a household earning $180,000 a year. Family coverage. Two options sitting in the enrollment portal. Option 1 is the PPO, higher monthly premium, lower deductible, familiar structure. Option 2 is the HDHP. The premium runs $700 a month lower than the PPO. The deductible is $4,000. And it unlocks something the PPO cannot touch under any circumstances. The health savings account. Year 1. Your family spends $5,000 on medical expenses across the year. Checkups, a specialist visit, a prescription that costs more than it should, the usual. With a PPO, you hit the lower deductible quickly. Your total cost, including premiums for the year, comes to roughly $5,500. With the HDHP, the higher deductible creates more exposure on that $5,000 in medical spending, but the $700 monthly premium savings offset a significant portion of that gap. Net year one comparison, the PPO saves your family approximately $2,000. PPO wins year one. That is exactly what the HR chart shows. That is where 58% of employees stop reading and click confirm. Now let's run the math the chart does not show. The HDHP qualifies you for an HSA. In 2024, a family can contribute up to $8,550 annually to a health savings account. That limit adjusts upward with inflation in most years. And the HSA carries something the IRS tax code does not offer anywhere else in the entire system. Financial planners call it the triple tax advantage. Contributions go in pre-tax, reducing your taxable income in the year you contribute. The money grows completely tax-free inside the account, and withdrawals for qualified medical expenses come out tax-free on the other end. No other account structure in the U.S. tax code does all three simultaneously. Not a 401k, not a Roth IRA, not a 529, nothing. The HSA is the single most tax-efficient vehicle available to American workers, and most of them never open one because they chose the PPO at enrollment. Most people who do have an HSA know it exists. Very few understand what happens when you stop using it as a medical debit card and start treating it as a second retirement account. That distinction is where the $810,000 gap lives. Devenir publishes an annual HSA research report tracking account balances and investment behavior across millions of accounts nationwide. Their 2024 data shows that only about 13% of HSA account holders invest their contributions in market-based funds. The remaining 87% leave their balance sitting in the default cash position, a money market account earning a fraction of a percent. The median HSA balance across all accounts sits just above $1,000. That is not a retirement asset. That is a medical checking account with a tax benefit attached. The 13% who invest their contributions are playing an entirely different game. Here's what compound math looks like when you contribute $8,550 every year for 30 years and put it to work at 7% annualized growth. That 7% is a conservative proxy for a diversified total market index fund over a 30-year period. It is below the historical average, not above it. Picture a single bar starting at 0 on the left side of a graph. Year 1, you contribute $8,550. The bar barely registers. Year 5, the bar climbs past $60,000. The bar just grew. Year 10, it crosses $120,000. The bar keeps climbing. Year 15, $220,000. Year 20, $370,000. The bar is still moving. Year 25, $560,000. And by year 30, that bar reaches $810,000. Every dollar of it tax-free on the way out for qualified medical expenses. Every dollar of it having grown without a single tax drag along the way. $810,000. That is the number sitting on the other side of the enrollment portal that the comparison chart never computes. Now let's build the full 30 years side by side. The PPO over 30 years. Your premium runs $700 a month higher than the HDHP. Over 30 years, that is $252,000 in additional premiums paid. In exchange, you get lower deductibles in high-expense years, and you accumulate $0 in any tax-advantaged vehicle tied to healthcare. Zero. The HDHP over 30 years. Your premiums run $252,000 lower. You face higher deductible exposure in heavy medical years. And if you invest the full HSA contribution every year, you arrive at year 30 with $810,000 in a tax-free account. The 30-year advantage in favor of the HDHP is not close. It is not a rounding error. It is the difference between having a significant tax-free asset and having nothing. I want to stop here and address the strongest objection because it is legitimate and it deserves a direct answer. If your family has chronic conditions, expensive ongoing medications, or regular specialist visits that push your annual medical spend consistently above $6,000, the math shifts. In those years, HDHP's higher deductible creates real financial pressure that the premium savings do not fully offset. For a family in that situation, the PPO is not the wrong choice. Here is the conditional truth. The HDHP works decisively when three conditions hold. First, your average annual medical spend stays below approximately $6,000, the threshold where premium savings consistently outpace the deductible exposure gap. Second, you can fund the HSA at or near the $8,550 maximum and invest those contributions rather than leaving them in cash. Third, you carry enough liquid savings to absorb a high-expense year without going into debt while waiting for reimbursement. If your emergency fund is thin, a $4,000 deductible in a bad health year creates genuine cash flow stress. The math works long-term. The cash flow has to work short-term first. If those three conditions describe your household, the HDHP is not marginally better. The gap is measured in hundreds of thousands of dollars. EBRI, the Employee Benefit Research Institute, maintains a longitudinal HSA research database tracking account histories from the time HSAs were introduced. Their data consistently shows that accounts opened before age 40 and maintained through a full working career accumulate the largest balances by a significant margin. The compounding window is the critical variable. Open enrollment is the door to that window. Most employees close the door in November without knowing it was open. There is one more layer most employees miss entirely. The IRS places no deadline on HSA reimbursements. You can pay a medical expense out of pocket today, keep the receipt, and reimburse yourself from your HSA 5 years from now or 15 years from now. There is no statute of limitations written into the tax code for this. People who understand this strategy pay routine medical costs out of pocket for years, keep a running folder of receipts, let the HSA compound completely untouched, and pull tax-free cash decades later for expenses they paid long ago. The account functions as a tax-free retirement supplement, and the receipts are the key. After age 65, the flexibility expands further. You can withdraw HSA funds for any reason at all, not just medical expenses. Non-medical withdrawals get taxed as ordinary income, exactly like a traditional IRA distribution. but qualified medical withdrawals remain completely tax-free at any age. For a household entering retirement with significant healthcare costs, which describes most American retirees according to CMS actuarial data, the HSA becomes one of the most powerful assets on the balance sheet precisely when you need it most. The enrollment window effect is not a flaw in your decision-making. It is a flaw in the tool you were given to make the decision. 12 months math for a 30-year problem. That is the design constraint your HR portal operates under, and it costs the average employee something that compounds quietly into the hundreds of thousands before they ever realize the window is closed. So what do you actually do with this? 3 steps. Step 1 is to pull your real medical spend from the last 2 years, not an estimate based on memory. Go find your explanation of benefits documents, your pharmacy receipts, your flex spending account history if you have one. Calculate an honest annual average. If that number consistently sits below $6,000, the HDHP premium savings and HSA compound math works strongly and clearly in your favor. Step 2 is to open the HSA on the first day of your coverage year and move the money out of the default cash position immediately. The compound clock starts January 1st, not the day you eventually get around to logging into the custodian portal. Most HSA platforms offer a total market index fund option. It takes 4 clicks to allocate your contributions there instead of sitting in cash. Also, check your enrollment materials for employer HSA contributions. Many employers seed the account with several hundred to over $1,000 annually as part of the benefit. That money starts compounding the day it lands, and most employees never even check whether it is invested. Step 3 is to treat the HSA as untouchable for as long as your cash flow allows. Pay small and mid-sized medical expenses out of pocket. Keep every receipt in a dedicated folder, physical or digital, with the date and the amount. Let the HSA compound. You can reimburse yourself later for every one of those expenses. The longer that money stays invested, the more the $810,000 number becomes not an estimate, but an inevitability. Your HR portal showed you one frame of a 30-year film. Now you have seen the rest of the film. The decision looks different when you run all the math. I am Drew. This is Paycheck Playbook. Drop a comment and tell me which plan you picked this open enrollment and whether you ran the 30-year numbers or just the year 1 chart. I read every comment and the answers shape what I cover next. If this breakdown changed how you were thinking about your benefits, hit the like button. There is a lot more hidden math sitting in that HR portal. I will see you in the next one. For transparency, this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. I am not a financial advisor, and nothing here should replace your own research. Please think carefully before making any money decision. Some voice or visuals may be AI assisted, but the final content is personally reviewed and edited by me, Drew.